football.
It's time to strap in and get ready. The Insight NBA team is in the arena, bringing you the ultimate play-by-play on who's hot and who's not to help you win your leagues and dominate your mates. You're now hooping with your hosts, Matty G, Skitty, and Mally for the Insight NBA show.
Your daily dose of fantasy around the world can be heard in one Mr. Josh Lloyd and us over here at Insight and a whole bunch of podcasters, but there is no greater privilege than to have the man sit down with us. How are you, Josh?
I'm good, Matty. It's good to be here. The old home and away series after you were on with me last week. Come back and let's get something going on this one.
Mate, there's been some wonderful debates and some wonderful guests on there. If you don't hear, obviously everyone listens to your show. It's the biggest fantasy show in the world. You've had some great guests this week arguing about fantasy. What's some of the highlights and arguments you've had this week in that series?
I think a lot of the stuff that we've done there has been like quite philosophical without necessarily talking about specific players. And I think that's really interesting about like just the way that we approach the game and the way that it is consumed, I guess, through different areas and the way that we try to just break down the issues where, there's can be some set ideas of how a player should be viewed or a bunch of players should be viewed, and just trying to like, I guess, bring that stuff more in line with reality, and which I don't think a lot of the ways that traditional rankings and things do. So more just that idea of the pros and cons and different ways to approach stuff, because as you're pretty well aware, Matty, like we can all have our approaches to drafting and winning leagues and all that sort of stuff, but like you can have a strategy to win and then I'm having something different and someone else will have a different one and someone else have a different one. We can all have success with it, but it's about like the execution and a few other little like evaluation 100%. Things. Like there's no like one straight way of doing it.
And this is where people get so like intensely fixed on their one strategy that they're going to do. And I know we're going to talk about this, but I mentioned it with Kingy last night. I'm a little bit not concerned by, but there's a lot of like, let's punt points. I'm like, okay, so if 12 people walk into a bar and all of the same drink and there's only 6 of them left, which 6 are going to be able to drink? So there's going to be a lot of managers if the same strategy starts to happen in your draft room. It's going to go sideways quick, and you're not going to have a really good time, and you're going to hold to these beliefs of what you want to do and not be willing to change tack. So this brings us to what managers can do. This is, I guess, 30 minutes or your podcast is free, just like a pizza back in the 80s or 90s.
131166.
Get onto the pizza for free. Your 3 top tips: no settings, be flexible, and of course, our last one for the day here is understand the trends of what's happening up and down. Why are these 3 things, Josh, the 3 of your big tips for this season for managers?
Well, you asked me to go through and say what my tips were for the year, and it is hard to narrow it down. Like when you talk about this stuff and you get granular and you look broad and you talk about 250 players, 300, whatever it is, like it's hard to narrow it down. But if you want to, and that's a part of the thing that I've been really focusing on this preseason as well, is like we can go into the details, we can talk about this, and this, but like if you don't want to worry about that stuff, like these are the things that I think are your major takeaways, and you won't always have the same amount of time as everybody else. But if you do these things, like know what your settings are, it's it gives you like, let's say 20%, right? Like that's a 20% start of where you need to be. And then you can do the next thing, give you 20, the next thing gives you 20. You're not going to get all the way there, but you've covered off enough with the small amount of time. And I always have this strategy in life. I haven't fully named it. I'm going to probably call it the 99% rule, right? Whereas some people will get into something, whatever it is, hobby, work, school. We all want to be perfect, right? That's hard to do. But there will be something, you might be doing something. You might be sitting with your missus and you might be looking at, like, hey, you went to change your blinds at the back and you went, hey, maybe we should like get some new blinds. And you go out to the shops and you look at them, you go, these ones are good. And then you go to the next shop and then she goes, I actually like these ones. And you go to the next one, you go, I like these ones. You go, what's the difference? Is it 99% you like this one and 99.1? Like you're wasting time to eke out the smallest advantage. That's not worth it. If you get to a certain spot, the extra time that you add into something is not always worth that extra payoff. Now, if you're sitting at 60% and you can put 10 minutes in and get to 9, that's great. But once you get, there's a certain cutoff that when you get to it, that you're just wasting time to say, am I happy with this? Yeah. Could I be happier? Yeah. But like by how much? And I think that's this rule that I've put into many different areas of life of like, just once you get to a spot where you like what it is and you like the strategy and you like the play, like you might be able to eke out, and this can translate to fantasy where you go, I wouldn't have picked that guy at 70. I could have actually waited around and got him at 80. Like, who cares? Like that's
It's
fine.
like
Like
one round.
you
It's fine. It's
maybe
one
got
round.
him back there, but whatever. Like it is okay. That is not the difference between winning and losing. And hyper focusing on criticizing someone else or thinking that you've made this great move and I have to get this guy here. That's not how it wins. And that is one of those small things, which again is, and part of that is knowing the settings can give you a big chunk of boost. And that is
how many IR spots?
100%.
How many IR spots do you have? How many guys can you put in there? What are your rules? How many acquisitions can you make a week?
Exactly.
Do you go hard on those early? Do you not? Like, what's your acquisitions rule? Do you even know that? When's your trade deadline? You've been waiting.
When do you set lineups? Once a week, every day? What do you do?
Yeah, what are you like? Oh, what are you? When are your playoffs? Are you in that schedule where you might have the Dallas Mavericks for the first week of your playoffs, and you are holding Kyrie Irving and Luka at the same time? Maybe they're the guys that you want to move off before your trade deadline, while the value's really there, and get yourself back somebody else to buoy you for the rest of the season, knowing that that's setting yourself up not for failure necessarily, but not going to give you the strongest result when you want 4 games out of your stars, or ideally 3 around that time. So 100% settings is vitally important. Flexibility, I think you touched on that there as well. Like you need to be flexible for number 2. You need to be open to change, to trade, to hit the waiver wire hard. How do you do flexibility for you?
I think when I was, all those things are true that you said, right? But when you asked me this and I answer with flexibility, it's literally just what you touched on at the start, where you said, like, if everyone goes into your draft and then they all start punting points, if you just say, well, I'm doing the same thing, like, no, like change. Like then all the big scorers start falling down. You go, I'll take this guy. Like, what are we doing? Like he is a top 30-ish player that's now in the 60s. Like, I screw what I thought I was doing. Let's change it up, because you can adjust. It is actually easy to make adjustments at any point. And if you're not flexible with that, and people will often say this as a drawback to punting. Well, if I do that, I can't grab this guy off the waiver wire. Garbage, bullshit. You can. You do it. Like you can do it. And either you can make an adjustment in your team, or you can use him for the strengths that he has, or you can move. Like, you have to be able to be flexible. If you sit there being completely rigid in your plans or your ideas or the way your team is, even middle of the draft, and you go, well, I can't take him because I'm not punting free throws. But you go, if I add this player and I'm punting free throws, but then my blocks go from a weakness to a strength, my rebounds do, my field goals do. So I've lost one category, you gain 3. Like you bang on. But if you're strict and rigid and unflexible, is it unflexible or inflexible? It's inflexible.
Inflexible.
You're a teacher.
Yeah, inflexible.
Yeah. If you're inflexible, then like that's going to lead to more problems, and you're going to start going that thing where you start reaching too high to fit the guy that fits a specific plan. And just be ready to roll with it, man. Like I'm not the most chill guy in the world. I'm pretty structured in what I do, but like you got to have these ideas. You can't just be like, I've got to lock in here. I've got to make this call at this point. And there's definitely has to be one player that you take over this guy at this spot, which is garbage. I could find you 20 spots, 20 players in so many different areas, 100%. Directions we could go. So that's what I mean by that.
Jimmy Butler, like you might want to be like, but when Jimmy Butler's sitting around in your draft rooms in 50, 55, and I'm just there straight, I keep on getting Jimmy Butler. I'm like, thank you.
Like I was in a mock just before we came on here. I did one this morning, and I'm not like big on Nikola Vucevic, but I was sitting there and I go, okay, my team needs some rebounds. There's a lot of centers that are gone. I'm sitting at 61. I'm not picking again to 80 or whatever. I don't like it, but it's fine. I'll take it. It's okay. Like I don't love getting Vooch there in a lot of cases, but I'll do it, and I'll take the guys that fall, and I'll take these different things. And I said I won't take Kawhi in the first 4 rounds, and in one of my drafts, he was there at 55. And I went, okay, I'll do it. That's cool.
I just did the exact same, just exactly the same thing. And I made it really risky. It was what was it? I think it was the one with Mally, where we were pick 5 versus pick 8 for a pod, and I was at 5, and I took LaMelo in the second round. Good. He's looking good. Fine. I think in the beginning of the 5th round, I took Kawhi. And then at 101 or 100 and something, Mark Williams was sitting there.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I had my 2 centers like already filled. It's a 2-center league. I'm like, Jesus, but it's Mark Williams. He's sitting here in 100. I'm like, do I just not do this? But I'm like, if I do it, I get a really great trade asset. And I've got like 30, 40 spots of value possibly by this point in time. So I'm just like, I just lean into it and I just go with what feels good.
Yeah, we all sit there and think, well, our draft is going to be the be all and end all, and there'll be people who tell you like that's so important, and it's important, but it's not. Like it's partly important, but it's not the be all and end all. Everything changes so quickly. Like it doesn't take much. Like one thing will change in the regular season: a random injury, a random pop off, someone forgets how to play, someone bangs someone else's misses, and now they're sad for the next 2 months. Like who knows, right? And you got to be flexible. You got to be willing to adjust. You don't sit there and don't. again, another phrase that I'm using a lot is like, don't win projected standings, like win your league. Don't focus on that, like win your league, like be ready to move and adjust and whatever.
And well, that's the trends thing. That's exactly what you're saying. Your third thing is the trends. You have to understand these trends. And for you, what do you think the biggest trends that happened during the course of the season? Is it minutes projections? Is it opportunity for players, injuries, and understanding maybe like value where people start slow? I always like to see who are the slow starters and who is moving up in value over the course of the season. Those are the guys who, when they're still on the rise, that I try and target as trade targets. What are trends that you think are important for especially rookie managers to try and pay attention to?
Well, I think there's two ways to approach trends. Is one of those things. And one of the guys that I really want to watch for that this season is Jalen Williams, right? Because his first two seasons has been really slow. And one of them he wasn't starting, but he did in his rookie season, he started middle of November and he wasn't very good, right? He was fine, but he wasn't very good. And I was very big on picking him up, and then he sort of struggled. And then February onwards, he kicked ass. And then last season, he struggled earlier in the season. He wasn't getting any steals, and then he kicked it off again second half. So is that happening again? Is that another trend that happens? But there are ways to be able to pick the stuff that doesn't make any sense and has an ability to change. But it's also about the trends in your draft. So it's not about not even a long-term thing, right?
Yeah.
It's about, like again, this mock draft that I just did is fresh in my mind. At the start of start of round 4 or end of round 3, I can't remember. I think it was the start of round 4. 7 point guards went in a row. I went, okay. So understand that this is, maybe it was start of round 3. 7 point guards went in a row.
Yeah.
So you go, okay. So that's a lot, right?
Yeah, that's a lot. That's how many teams? How many teams?
12.
All right. So pretty much, yeah.
If you didn't get point guards at a certain spot, like they're gone. And then the next ones that come up are guys with a bunch of different risks. So after that 7, it was like 15 picks, and it was Jamal Murray. And you went, okay, there's some risks associated with what he's doing, but it was like Tyrese Maxey, DeJounte Murray, Cade Cunningham, De'Aaron Fox, Kyrie Irving, whatever. All these guys went in a row. And if you're not on board with that and you don't understand that that's going to happen and that won't happen in every draft, Matty, but like they're all going to go in that spot. And there's going to be then 5 centers that go in the 50s, and there's going to be 6 centers that go in the 80s. It's just how it works. So where do those things happen? How does that impact your
round
strategy?
5, the center round, that center round, that round 5, everyone going off the board, Jarrett Allen, Nick Claxton, these guys start and then people are doing that and people are freaking out, and then they're grabbing Isaiah Hartenstein really early, like, oh Jesus, where's the centers? And Zubac is like, whoo, he's like flown in. I loved him late. And now I'm seeing him go in the 70s and 80s. I'm like, oh, Jesus. There goes my draft strategy.
It's because of that thing, because like everyone pushes up, and then you go, oh, my God, there's only Hartenstein left. So they grab him, and they go, oh, my God, there's only Zubac left, and they grab him. And then you get this big gap. And then someone that does fall through the cracks is Mark Williams, like you said. But then there's like your Pirtles and Valanciunas and Gaffords and Lively's that are all still available later. But
DeAndre Ayton being a bit slept on a little bit. I think he's fallen back down for us to consider him quite hard.
Yeah. I think that
there's risk, but
I think it's really clear that he is going to be better than where he's being drafted. But the question is going to be, A, does he stay on this team? B, does he get a fake injury? He didn't last season. Or do they switch it over to Klingon, who I honestly think is nowhere even close to being physically able to play 30 minutes. I don't think he can do it. But there's a huge risk with Ayton, because if he plays 32 minutes, like he smashes going in the 50s, like he'll beat it really comfortably, right? But I don't know. And that's one of the teams where there's a lot of I don't knows with, and that does make it risky. So you just want to bump him down a little bit because of that.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, let's get on to our next one. Before we do that one, don't forget to grab into our Patreon. It is available now. Check it out.
Want to take your fantasy sports game to the next level? Insight Fantasy Sports are bringing you exclusive content all year round, such as preseason draft guides, player rankings, waiver wire advice, statistical deep dives, priority podcast questions, and tons more. So what are you waiting for? Get full access to the experts. Go to patreon.com/Insight Fantasy Sports and subscribe to Insight Unlimited today.
And that's where you can get our big draft guide as well. It's got my projections, Mally's projections, matrices, and skitties. And you can do all that over there. It's on our Patreon. The link is down below. And as well, Basketball Monster, the great analytics tool. Tell us about Basketball Monster as well. Give that and all the things that you do, Josh, a big plug.
This is the second day in a row where someone's asked me to plug the work that I do, and I hate it. I don't do it. I never advertise.
Don't do it. Okay, don't. His views get thousands of people. That people buy the shit out of his stuff. I
feel uncomfortable. Hey guys, my guy, it's come. It's so cool. I'm the best. Like I hate that idea, but I'll do it. But first, I want to ask you: has anyone ever told you that ad that you played gives off Truckosaurus vibes?
Yes.
Yeah, W. Yeah, fantastic.
I don't know why. I literally lowered the volume the other day, and every time I it's like,
down. Yo, Monday. I love it. It's fantastic. It's gone fired up. Anyway, Basketball Monster, why do projections there? We have draft tracking tools, trade analyzers. We update them literally multiple times a day. Whatever the news comes in, everything gets updated immediately. We run literally around the clock on monitoring and updating that site with anything that you can find, interactive forums, draft tools, trade analyzers, all the projections, all that stuff 100%. Is there. We are constantly updating it on a season long, but also on a daily basis. So individual stats for every single game projected for the season.
Yeah, it's massive. It's, again, this is your life. Like, this is why, like, when people talk about, like, they're like, oh yeah, he's the best. Like, fucking, of course he is. This is his, like, this is his living. This is his job. And you get to do what you love full time in this one. So make sure you check out the Basketball Monster stuff and follow Josh if you don't already. For some odd reason, at Red Rock B-Ball on all of the places where you get your handles. We did mention trends earlier, and there was the 3. So these are 3 trends that influence the trends that you spoke about. There's rotation consistency, pace changes, and backup battles. I love backup battles. We did a show about it earlier in the season. Love that. Like, guys who are in jeopardy. The pace changes one is also really, really interesting as well, that I don't think a lot of people put a lot of stock and trade into pace changes, whereas I love that. And I think that there's a lot to glean out of pace changes. Talk us through those ones. Start us off with the rotation consistency first there.
It's about like which coaches, like especially when looking through the preseason, it's hard to get super accurate information for it, which we understandable. Like, coaches are going to be, experimenting and trying to figure out what they want to do. But if you see a coach that runs a very similar thing every game in the preseason, and at the moment we're there with the Jazz, like, I don't know that it's going to last, but like, they've run the same starting lineup. Like, is that what they're going to do? Probably. Not often that they will run the same grouping every single game and then decide they're going to mix it up for the regular season. That doesn't happen. So that is great. On the flip side, the Warriors, who knows? Like, every game has been different so far. There's guys sitting in, sitting out. We have no idea. So, like, your level of safety or floor on these guys, Kuminga, Wiggins, Pajemski, Hield, Melton, Jackson Davis, like, their buddy started Kevon Looney. I go, okay, if this dickhead's playing, like, what does that mean? Like, I don't really know how to calculate that in. And they're your floor of those guys. It has to drop down because you don't have that consistency. You don't have that safety. And they're going to try this. It might be 5 games, but they're going to go into the season doing this. And for some teams, we just don't know. So that's a concern. The pace one is really key. And I don't think people get it necessarily. Is that the Hornets are going to run 5-6 extra possessions a game this season, without question. They are going to fly. And Steve Clifford brought them back to snail stuff, right? They are going to fly. LaMelo is going to cook. We just hope he doesn't get injured, but they're going to go from 99, 98 to 105, 104. Yep. They're going to run at that Wizards temp from last season. The Cavs are going to go from 98 to 102 or whatever they are. They're going to fly up as well under Atkinson. The Pistons under JB, well, it might actually pull back a little bit from the pace they ran
with Monty,
because JB loves to slow it down. We already know that the Knicks run slow, and we know that that's a constant thing. But like, we don't know the certain things. Like, what does JJ Redick do pace wise? Does he speed it up? But the big ones are going to be like the ones who go from the bottom, the Cavs and the Hornets, up to the top in terms of pace, and that changes. Like, if you get 6 extra possessions a game, that's, just say for your starters or whatever, that's 4 extra possessions a game. It's a chance to get 2 on offense, 2 on defense. Like, maybe it's a little bit of an add to your steal. It's a rebound. It's an assist. It's a shot attempt. Whatever it is, it just gives you more opportunities, and that is important. It matters a lot.
It does, and I think when you said it there, like the change and stuff, like JJ Redick and the Lakers. We know that the Lakers love to slow it down and break it, but JJ is also a really crafty, clever coach. Max Christie's minutes is one that I've been watching, because I've always said that this is a guy. I said in deep leagues that I'm well and truly on the target train for Max Christie, because I think in those deep leagues like Ball Page here in Australia, we're 20-man leagues, 12 rosters. Say you start to look around these peripheral guys. It's his 3rd year, I'm pretty sure. I'm like, a minute.
And look, and one of the, if you talk to Lakers people, right, insiders, reporters, or whatever, one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons why there was an issue with management and Darvin Ham that led to the firing was he would not play Max Christie. And they were begging him, they go, can you play Max Christie? What are you doing with Cam Reddish? Like, can you play Max Christie? And he wouldn't. So he's gone. Yeah. And then people looked at it, why have you extended Max Christie at this contract? Like, he hasn't done anything. And it's because the front office believes in him. Now, that doesn't mean that he necessarily plays, but he's played 26 minutes in both preseason games. And let's be fair, Rui Hachimura is not good. So I'm not going to be shocked if Christie either gets starts. He started as a rookie in certain games too, but does he come in and get starts or play 25 a night, and then he's the guy that steps up if D'Lo, if LeBron, or if Reeves misses a game? I think he's in prime position to be maybe the sixth man straight away.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that we can look at things like this from the preseason, and that's part of the pace. And he's moving the ball along. And when the ball moves, it goes through more hands. There's more opportunity for the subs, for these six men to get minutes. And he's one of the guys that they need. They need some spacing. They need some shooting, like desperately. Like that's a big flaw in their game. And so we can look at things like this. And the last thing there is the backup battles. Now, we said the backup battles, there's guys, I mean, look at the stack rosters. Houston Rockets. Who gets the start? Who's like, we saw it in the preseason yesterday. Tara Eason, go out there. Preseason Eason time. Again, let's go out and have as many minutes as you want. What backup battles are you really curious on this year?
I think it's more about the things that, like, it's not necessarily that it's going to impact your draft significantly, but you want to know who the primary backup is. Like, you want to see what's happening with, you know, who's getting backup point guard minutes. Is Monte Morris getting them in Phoenix? Would he step up if Tyus Jones gets hurt, or is it Grayson Allen that steps up? Or who's a backup center in at the moment with Christian Wood out? Like Jackson Hayes is getting those. So if AD misses a game, Jackson Hayes is the guy that slides in. So understanding who that guy is that's one step away. What happens in Miami? Is Khalil Ware the backup, or is it Thomas Bryant? It's Khalil Ware, and that's important to know.
Ware, 100%.
Right? We know that now, but we didn't know that before. We thought it would be, but coaches do dumb shit all the time, and shit that goes, well, you're a rookie, you got to earn it, and then it'll take him 2 weeks to get there. But Ware's already there. So we know that. Did you
get Hassan Whiteside vibes from Khalil Ware? Can I just ask the amount of fouls that he was giving per minute?
No, that's maybe from that part, but like Whiteside is like just an incredibly dumb player, and Ware is not
smart,
and Ware can shoot as well. So like I never really equated those. So maybe it's more of a Thon Maker, the foul king himself.
Yeah.
He's a fouling legend. Maybe
the Karate Kid Thon Maker.
You know what? Depending on how you feel about a player, right? You can always make a positive or negative association. You could say, man, Khalil Ware, look at all these fouls. He's a Hassan Whiteside. And I could say, yeah, okay, but how about Jaren Jackson? All right, so I can just go both ways. Jaren Jackson, 1 million fouls, defensive player of the year. All right, so we can always use, and I think, was it you that I was talking to the other day when we were talking about switching about Chet Holmgren from center to power forward? Someone was talking to me about,
we did speak about that, like the fit beside Hartenstein. Yeah,
and we're talking about how when guys move to power forward, their block rate drops, and then you're like, oh, but Jaren, when he goes to power forward, it goes up. You're like, okay, that's interesting. So like, as always, you can always find little bits and pieces, but usually you just want overwhelming trends. But that's what I'm talking about when I'm looking at trends and backups. Is who's the guy that's established in a position where that he can be the sixth man, he can be the backup if someone gets hurt, he can be the guy that when you go slightly deeper, he's getting regular minutes, and that becomes more important than you think, I believe.
And I think that also influences who we thought might have been on the bench to start with, and then who comes in. For example, in Atlanta, I've always loved the fit, and I've always thought that Dyson Daniels should be the inherent shooting guard because they need that defense beside Trae Young. Like we know that around Trae Young, you need defense and you need a lot of it. I'm not the biggest DeAndre Hunter truther. He's more of an emotional roller coaster than at Dreamworld. Let's just say that way. So there was sort of the Bogdanovic will start the season. We haven't seen him yet in the preseason. No. But I think that's the rotation minutes there. And I think he was like the prime six man of the year candidate last year. Like Sportsbet had great odds. He's in the 30s, by the way.
For Bogdanovic, really. Yeah, he should have won it last year, I think. It was pretty close to winning it. I had him either 1 or 2. Yeah, that's really interesting.
I actually just bring it up right now in the background. Not that we're advocating punting or any way, shape, or form while we're doing a live podcast, but just the odds is the thing that we can glean from, because maybe his odds fell really super low because it was this one. I'll go sixth man of the year. Here we go. Wait, where is it? I'll search at the same time. Sixth. Not many sixth man of the year awards. Sixth man of the year. Here we go. NBA. Malik Monk is still favored at 650, and he's come down to $15 now. So Bogdanovic at $15, I still think is really good value considering the people to beat him: Naz Reid, Homie Harkes Jr., Karis LeVert, DiVincenzo, Powell, CJ McCollum, and Bobby Portis are all above him.
Yeah,
like that's not fun for anybody. But that's someone I'm watching. But again, Dyson Daniels in drafts, we were a late round sleeper, but now he's playing well. He moves up our boards. What happens to Bogdanovic? Is the trend there that people start to draft Dyson earlier, and Bogdanovic fades a little bit? If so, it's a curious little pickup.
Yeah, like I actually didn't, again, just going by what I've done recently, Bogdan did drop a little bit, but so did Dyson. So that was interesting. I didn't think that would be the case. I thought that what Daniels had done so far would have maybe pushed him up a little bit, but it didn't happen. And that's why like every draft is like, there's always something different. It's always a unique sort of snowflake, isn't it? It's always something weird that happens to go, oh, what's going on here? Why is he falling here? Like I'll do drafts where John Collins goes at 100. He goes at 140. And like, okay, that's a big difference. And I'm not going to set my sights on, I know this guy is here, or I know I have to do it, because it's just, there's a million things that can change in any sort of draft that you do. The more variables introduced into an auction draft, all that sort of stuff. There's just so many things that change. It's never a set pattern. Agreed.
And hey, look, we mentioned on this earlier, I asked you, not, what was it? Who was your Pope of the year? There was one that the auto correctors.
You asked me. No, you said what's my one hole for the season. I went, well, if you want to know that, well, we can. I'll show you that later. That's a different.
We'll have to have some drinks down at the pub. That's on your OnlyFans account. That's on that
Correct.
One.
Yep.
And it's hard. I've got the one hand. It's like typing sometimes is different. But it was your one hope for the season, and I asked you for what would Josh's one hope for the season be, and it was this. It was that you hope the dream for your year is that stars stay healthy. Which is why is this the hope and dream for you?
Okay, so two of the guys you put up on that graphic, like Embiid and Kawhi, I'm not touching them anywhere near right where they're being drafted. I don't want Embiid in round 1, and I won't take Kawhi inside the top 50. But I want them to be healthy, because I don't look at this game that we are playing, and we are talking about fantasy. I don't look at it in a vacuum. I never do. Anyone who accuses me of this, I'll always come at them, right? And they're like, no one cares about fantasy. No, it doesn't matter. That's not what the point is. And when I yell at the Hornets about the injury reporting, or if I talk about a coach making a dumb move, it's never about, well, I need that for my fantasy team. And if Kawhi and Embiid play big seasons, I look stupid because I'm not drafting them. I just want the NBA and the insane 65-game rule, which contributed to one of the more injured playoffs we've ever seen, and you will not change 100%. My mind on that. And if we get that bullshit happen again, I'll continue to rail about it. But I just want these players to be healthy enough to make it through the season, to be ready for the playoffs, to help fantasy managers as well, but also without us getting a dicks in and not talking about, oh my God, they set a game, what a soft clock. Yet every star in the NBA is out by the time we get to March and April because of, maybe those reasons. So I want everyone to be able to, it's impossible to do. It's a hard game to be healthy given the bodies and it's the movement patterns and that sort of stuff that creates these injuries. But, if that was the hope, I just want people to be healthy so we get good basketball, great basketball, strong playoff runs, and awesome playoffs. That's what I want.
And this is where I'll come to your defense 100 times out of 100 on this one. You look at Steph Curry this year, and we love Steph Curry. You would say Steph Curry is one of the greatest shooters of all time. Joy to watch, being a revelation in basketball for the last decade. Really lifted to the sport. You project him at 68 games. Now, that does not mean that Josh Lloyd hates Steph Curry. That means that Josh Lloyd, the analyst, is a realist with his rest, his potential injuries over the course of the season. It's not like you're hoping for bad things for the bloke, but you're looking at the patterns, you're looking at the history of it, you're looking at the scheduling, you look at what's best for him rest-wise, for the team-wise. It's not that Josh Lloyd thinks that, he's a dickhead and he's going to get injured you're down on him and thinking that he's only going to play 68. You're thinking that historically, the pattern of what has happened indicates to me, with my analyst hat on only, not for my fundamental love and joy of basketball, which we all have, that this bloke's going to play 68 games. And
even that, like even projecting games played is literally it's an impossible thing to do, right? So exactly. I make the numbers, right? Like I project the playing games out, and people ask me, "Why have you got this guy at this reason?" I go, "Do not trust those numbers. I don't use them at all, and I make them because I can't do it. You can't predict an injury. Nobody can. And if we're going to base that, like Steph might play 60, he might play 78. I got no idea. I honestly don't know, but you're right. It's about an overall trend. I don't believe that 37-year-old Kevin Durant will play 37 minutes a night and play 75 games again. He might. I don't believe that the likelihood and the probabilities would suggest that's going to happen again. But I don't know.
100%.
I just don't.
Well, I want to make your dreams come true. So I used AI and
okay.
This is good. So I typed in Josh Lloyd living his dream, and it came up like you were a European soccer player.
Holy shit!
This is apparently Josh Lloyd, fantasy analyst, getting his dream of healthy players. I don't know if you can see it.
Where's the healthy?
I don't know. There wasn't there. You look for.
You know what I love about this, right? Okay, so I don't think you'd ever catch me in a full white tracksuit. That's probably not going to happen. Put the image back up there. Put the image back up. For those.
Oh no, there's more. There's more because I wasn't happy with this one.
No. Don't look. Have a look. Right, hand in the pocket. What's he packing across the front there? That's some serious weaponry right there. That is a big bulge, and I am very happy with the way this AI has structured myself playing pocket billiards there. That is a interesting fold. What is this? Wow.
This is you. Look, this is you. And I said if you could put in Joel Embiid, the three guys, Joel Embiid, Kawhi Leonard, LaMelo Ball, and it came up with this. And I think it's just a whole bunch of J. Cole lookalikes in the background.
How is me the only person who actually looks like myself and the others don't?
I don't know. It's AI. And this one I thought was one of the funnier ones. This is like I said, injured, but it looks like you decapitated a person and grown an extra arm for living your dream of healthy players. So I don't know what it is, but the last one was, I think, my favorite. This is you living your best life, and I think should be your new profile photo. I just need you to speak to Mama Lloyd and ask if she has any connection in her history to Joel McHale, because it looks like that you were. Wow. You were Joel McHale's love child, living your dream in an intergalactic manner.
That actually looks like. Did you like upload photos of me into this or anything, or just say do Josh Lloyd? Because that's like
I had to upload 3 photos.
Okay,
there was one of you, like screen caps from your like your things. I just had there was 3 screen caps, like just in a Google search, and I just put them up there, and it was big. But that literally looks like Joel McHale. For some reason, you've come out looking like Joel McHale meets Josh Lloyd. Yeah, also very ripped.
Well, that's inaccurate. I know that much. There's definitely no way that that's any closer. But yeah, that is that's. Hey, it's close to living my best life. I'm almost there. Just without the extra arms and stuff.
Just some pocket billiards, man, and a white tracksuit. That's all you need, and some sunglasses through the middle of the day. Hey, thank you very much to Josh Lloyd, and thank you to our very good sponsors, of course. They are the Standard Squeeze. Make sure you use promo code IAFS15 for all of your orders, from your 4-in-1 cups to your merchandise with summer on the way, those coolers and Eskies to take with you wherever you go camping. And to our guy, Ryan, and a student on Newstead. If you're looking for your dream home or to refinance, reach out to Ryan. Use promo code INSIDE to him. His details are below. He is the financial agent. He's taking care of me in my home, Skiddy's home, a whole bunch of homes from people across Australia. You can reach out to him on his mobile. He's always willing to have a chat and get you in a better financial position. Josh, thank you so much for your time as always, mate.
No worries, Matty. Awesome.
Guys, like and subscribe. We'll catch you soon. More content from, of course, Fantasy, Locked On World. Get on to Josh Lloyd. Get on to Insight, and we'll catch you soon.